All right, everybody, welcome back to the 10 count where we discuss all things boxing related. We are here. My name is Jesus. This is my co host Manuel. Our third co host couldn't be here, he's on vacation, but we do have his take that we'll get into here later on. Obviously, we're talking about the mega fight that was yesterday with Canelo and Bivol, with Bivol dethroning Canelo, and I would say a fairly easy contest for him. Canelo kind of, I don't know what happened to him. What do you think, Manuel?
I think maybe he was way over his head. He bit more than he could chew. It was at a different weight class. I think he gassed quite early, and I think Bivol was faster than he thought and smarter than he thought too. But he fought pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
he kept the distance. He was disciplined throughout. He did little bursts here and there when he knew he should. He took. There was a round that Canelo was coming out pretty strong, and then towards the half end, he started throwing a lot of combinations and pushing Canelo back. And I think he won that round back. Like he stole it away from Canelo.
yeah.
Like he kind of figured out what he was trying to do, and he was like, "Nah, this is my round."
Yeah, I kind of feel like I feel like it had kind of a little bit to do with their game plan. I hate to say it, but you could hear Reynoso telling him in the corner to keep punching his arms, hit him in the shoulders, this and that. And I get that, they're saying touch him anywhere.
Yeah,
But we know with the Reynoso camp that they have the tendency to actually go for the arms and target them so that they can bring their guard down later on. And I
yeah,
think they thought it was going to be the same with Callum Smith, and that they're going to be able to break him down and then they'll be able to get to him, but it didn't affect Bivol the way that it did. Now, saying the people I was watching it with, I was like, you know what? That's a very risky strategy because if it doesn't work, then you just wasted. And those aren't scoring punches; those are technically
yeah. They're
blocks.
not. Yeah,
So you're giving away the fight, risking and betting everything on him dropping his guard later on. And I think they underestimated Bivol's cardio. I think in other fights with fighters that move and box well, they usually get tired later on, and Canelo's able to break them down. And this time,
yeah,
Bivol managed his distance very well. When Canelo tried to get on the ropes to counter him, Bivol was very smart. Did not go in. Just he was point fighting, which is how he usually fights. He's a very technical fighter,
hmm
and he was jabbing him to the body. He was landing straight rights. He was landing left hooks, which was surprisingly touching Canelo to the body, which a lot of people don't do. And I just think they might have actually underestimated Bivol in this one.
yeah. I think that was also a key to it that people kept touching Canelo to the body, and we know notoriously that Canelo doesn't have the best gas tank to begin with, and at this weight class, it can't get any better.
Hmm.
It's just gonna be worse.
Yeah.
And by Bebo touching him to the body, it's just adding another little negative to his cardio. I think that was a big part of it too, because by the fifth round, Canelo was breathing through his mouth, and he
Hmm.
seemed a little slower. He seemed frustrated by the
His
fifth
mouth
round.
was
It wasn't
open.
even halfway. It wasn't even halfway through the fight.
Yeah, his mouth was open. Not just that, but the commentators were saying that they wanted Canelo to start faster because he usually is a slow starter, which I think
Yeah,
is something that also impacted his stamina because he came out pretty fast, winging hard shots, not even trying to touch him, hard shots from the
yeah,
beginning with a lot of power in them. And you could tell after the seventh, eighth round, Canelo's punches just did not have the same pop on them. You could tell in the last two rounds, 11 and 12, when he was trying to land that uppercut and evolve and throwing punches, that he was trying to put everything he had in it, and you could tell it wasn't impacting him. You could tell because Bivol was walking them down a lot more too. He was backing him up,
yeah,
and I want to talk about the scorecards real quick, okay? Because I think the right guy definitely won.
yeah.
But 115, 113, that means if Canelo would have won the last round, it
It
would
would
have
have been
been
a
a
draw.
draw. And I don't see how that would have happened
But
because
yeah,
I had it maybe a lot wider than a lot of people. I had it 10-2 for Bivol. Mostly because of activity. Canelo in a lot of the rounds was not throwing. He only landed I think 83 punches in the fight.
yeah,
So I think Bivol outworked him. He outboxed him, and then he put the pressure on him later on.
yeah. I think the fight was at the most you could give Canelo 4 rounds, dude. Like it was, it was a clear win for Bivol. Clear,
Yeah,
clear win. And
100%.
Canelo didn't have a good game plan. He didn't have the stamina. I don't think his power impacted Bivol as he thought it would.
Hmm.
I was actually surprised that Bivol. Well, I didn't watch the last 3 rounds. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had to work. But as far as I know, Bivol never jumped on him. He never had the killer instinct to like jump on him and actually put his weight on the punches as he usually could, as he usually does,
He
and actually try to hurt him. He kept his
he
distance. He just kept him at bay and won the round.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely landing some good combinations, but once he would land them, he got out and he stayed out because he knew with those combinations, he was up in the round. He didn't need to risk anything more. He
Exactly.
fought the way that he needed to fight.
And you could see it, because he would throw a combination, push Canelo back on the ropes. Sometimes he would rough him up, he push him a little bit, and then boom, 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 and
Yeah.
back up, and then Canelo be waiting like, come back so he could throw like a
hmm
big shot, and Bivol just never came back,
Yeah, he
and
never gave him the
that was
chance.
Bivol's round.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
never gave him the chance. One thing that I did think about when I first started watching in the first couple rounds with the people I was watching it, I was telling them, I was like, you know what? I think these guys should do, especially since they're a lot bigger at 175. I was like, I don't know if it's the smartest thing to box Canelo. I was a little worried in the beginning because it kind of did seem in the first two rounds that it's gonna be very close, and I was like, man, it might end up being a normal Canelo fight. He's
Mhm.
throwing big shots. He looks very fast in there. He might end up catching them.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, why don't these guys fight Canelo the way that Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder? You're a lot bigger than him. You outweigh him by a lot. Lean on him. Take him to the
Maul him
ropes.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, just you'll be able to do it.
Mhm.
Canelo's stamina problems. If he would have done that, I think Bivol probably could have got a finish. Now we know Canelo's never been finished, but the way that he was so exhausted,
Mm.
if Bivol would have pressed the action a little bit more,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
would have had nothing left. I think he was.
Yeah.
I've never seen Canelo that tired before. I know he used to gas in the past, but never have
Yeah.
I seen him like this.
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from Bivol. I know we're talking a lot about Canelo, but Bivol fought the perfect fight.
Yeah.
I think with that win, he might. I know Canelo's not a 175 pounder, but he might have just cemented himself at being able to beat the top guys at 175. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting because we have Better B fighting Joe Smith
Mm.
here coming up.
Yeah.
And Bivol probably getting the winner of that for Undisputed. I like that fight. I like that fight a lot.
Yeah.
He already beat Joe Smith, so if Joe Smith beats Better Beef, I think Bivol is going to be undisputed.
I think Bitter Beef is gonna be the undisputed in that weight class. I don't think
It'd be
anybody.
interesting. It'd be interesting. I
17.
mean, yeah,
He's
it's true.
17, dude.
He's a bigger guy. He has bigger punch than Canelo, so it'd be a really interesting fight. So with that, with us, having our take on that, we're gonna go ahead and include Christian's take here since he's not able to join us. So we'll go ahead and roll what he has to say, and we'll be right back with you guys.
Hello, you guys. This is Christian with the 10 count, and this is my thoughts about Canelo Bivol. Yes, I am a little bit sad. Big Canelo fan. But before I'm a Canelo fan, I'm a boxing fan. And I think what we saw today is a great fighter, a great boxer, daring to be great. A lot of boxers nowadays, they they want to keep their records perfect. A trend set by I believe Mayweather, honestly. And he was also a great fighter. I would say probably one of the best defensive fighters of all time. So no knock on him, but I think he gave too much importance to keeping his record clean. A big accomplishment because he did fight a lot of people, a lot of great champions, Hall of Famers even. But let's face it, a lot of fighters nowadays they want to keep their record perfect, and they don't want to dare to be great. They just want to keep the record perfect, and they believe that's enough. That's enough to be great. And I disagree with that. Canelo has dared to be great many times, and I believe this time he bit more than he could chew. Or yeah, but great night for boxing. Canelo gave it all he had, and he came out short. I think honestly, this weight class is just too much for him. He looked tired. He looked out of steam early. He also tried to go really hard in the first record rounds because, of course, Bivol came in hard. Um, I thought it was a great fight. Canelo just couldn't pull it off. Um, the Reynoso team takes another L. Much love to all my Canelo fans, all my Reynoso camp fans. Um, all they can do is keep daring to be great. Why not? This doesn't define Canelo. He's still undisputed. Still has all the titles at 168. I think his best bet right now is probably to fight Triple G because he's already on his contract. And after that, I would say go against Benavidez. I don't think it's gonna be as hard as everybody thinks to beat him. He's a great fighter, a great champion, um, or ex champion. But honestly, his style I think is a lot easier for Canelo. He doesn't have really good foot movements. Um, he hits hard. That's one thing that Canelo has to watch out for. But when it comes to everything else, I think Canelo dominates Benavidez and even stops him. And if Charlo wants to get in line, I think that'll also be a good fight for Canelo, and I think it'll be an easy fight. So all in all, Canelo took an L today, but he dared to be great, and nobody should be ashamed of that. That'll be all on my account. I'm sure Manuel hate Canelo. They just hate him. I'm sure they're happy right now. They're gloating. They're probably gonna be super happy tomorrow on the podcast. Sadly, I couldn't make it. I'm on traveling, but I'll be there live with you guys for the next podcast. See you guys later. Much love. No boxing, no life. Let's go.
So after watching Christian's take, I think that first of all, I want to point out he couldn't start talking about Canelo without mentioning Mayweather. You know, it's
Nobody
kind
can.
of
Nobody can.
it's kind of a little bit funny that I noticed the first minute was mostly about Mayweather and Canelo contrast. Um, but I get where Christian's coming from. You know, I definitely you could definitely hear the sadness in his voice. And he definitely is very affected by that Canelo loss.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily hate Canelo. I've never said I hated Canelo. Um,
I don't hate him.
I like him. I like
I don't
him.
hate him.
I like his style, but he's not my favorite. You know, I don't think I've ever been the guy to just root for the guy just because he's at the very top or just because we're the same heritage. I think he's a good fighter. I definitely think there are some fights that he didn't fight when he could have. Not saying this fight was like he was supposed to run him over. I actually picked Bivol. I had him winning by decision. Is what I told everybody before the fight started. Um, I thought it was a big risk. He was too big, too young, too fresh, too strong. Um, but I definitely see some of the points that Christian has on that. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing immediately. You know, you can't talk about Canelo's legacy without Mayweather. Um, you can blame Mayweather for everybody wanting to keep their undefeated, their O or whatever. Or making that something like that makes you seem like a great boxer. It's not necessarily a must because there's a lot of great boxers that have lost, like
Hmm.
Pacquiao. But it does look good. Now having
Yeah.
a lot of losses does look good, and Canelo did dare to be great. He
Hmm.
tried to go up again to that weight class, but this time he fought somebody that was younger, smarter than Kovalev, younger, smarter, better technique. It wasn't
Yeah.
gonna happen. It's just I had my doubts, but this was actually one of the first fights where I was like, all right, I want Canelo to win this.
Yeah, I did see
Have,
your story. I
I'm
did
not
see your story.
never rooting for him again.
I did see your story. I do want to go
But
ahead and point out. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
with that being said, though, I want to ask the question, the $1 million question that I had yesterday that I didn't get to ask. I wanted to speak about it here. With this happening, is Canelo still pound for pound number one? Does he keep it? Does he keep
I
it?
knew you were gonna bring that up. I knew you were gonna bring that up. I was gonna segue
Of
into
course.
that as well. Um, I think no, he's not.
Number two.
I think he's in the top three for sure.
Okay.
Um, the reason being is that, for example, I'm not just saying it because I know people are gonna say we're hating on Canelo and all this because he's obviously still a great fighter. And not, I agree with Christian and loss should not define the fighter. I like how
Yeah.
the UFC does it. Loss and the guy can come back. I definitely do like that as well. I don't want guys to be scared of losing and not taking fights that they should be taking just because they want to be undefeated. I definitely agree with that. But when Lomachenko lost against Teofimo Lopez in the rankings, a lot of people dropped him a lot lower in the pound for pound listing. They didn't take him completely out, but he did drop. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Vasily Lomachenko was number one, but he was definitely in the
Yes.
top four for
He was
sure.
fighting. He was fighting Crawford for number two. They were
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
neck
they
and
were
neck.
up there. Well, and Usyk too. Once Usyk beat Joshua, but once he lost to Teofimo, a lot of people dropped him down to around 7, 6, and I think the same should have happened with Canelo. I think Canelo was number one. He lost, and it wasn't like I don't want. It wasn't a close loss. He got dominated, in my opinion. He lost the majority of the rounds. Clear loss. He looked very beatable after that. So I would say I can't put him over Usyk because Usyk is undefeated. He's about to become undisputed if he ends up beating Joshua and fights whoever gets the vacant belt if Tyson Fury really does retire. I can't put him over Crawford, who also is another undefeated fighter who has been fight. If he beats Spence after this, then there's no way for Canelo to be above him. You know, if Canelo does, depends on who Canelo fights next and how he looks and all that. But I definitely think he's in the top three. For me, I would say Usyk number one, Crawford number two, Canelo number three. That's my take. What do you
I
think?
think I don't know. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was like, is it fair, like for him to have done everything that he's did so far, and for him to lose once and drop him off as number one? If
Yes.
Because Crawford is number two, because Crawford is number two.
hmm
If Crawford hasn't really had like a big like win recently, you know?
He beat Porter by knockout.
Yeah, but I don't know.
So you're saying you think Canelo's still number one?
I'm saying that.
I'm saying with this loss,
Yeah, I mean, I
look,
think he
I'm
should still
saying,
keep it
I'm
unless
saying,
unless let's say Crawford has another big fight like against Thurman or something or Spence and he beats one of them, then it's like okay, he should have number one.
well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying right now is obviously Canelo's not gonna fight sooner than Usyk or Crawford.
Yeah.
So I feel like whoever fights next and wins is gonna cement themselves as number one for now. I think with
So
Canelo
okay.
losing, there's definitely some wiggle room for people to move around. If somebody would have said before this fight, let's say 3 months ago, oh no, hell no, you know Usyk is 100% over Canelo. Canelo's not number one. Then definitely you're hating and you're not taking into consideration how good Canelo is. But after
Yeah.
he loses, you definitely have that wiggle room to move stuff around. There's no definite number one after the number one loses. If
Yeah.
Mayweather would have lost the
That's.
decision by split
Mhm.
decision to Pacquiao when they had fought, you can't say, oh, well, Mayweather should have won. You know, it was close. He should still be number one.
Yeah.
You say, obviously, that guy beat him. He comes up. And obviously, Bivol, after beating Canelo, he's in the top 10 now. He has to be.
Mm.
He just beat Canelo very decisively. Very
Yeah.
decisively. Something that nobody
Yeah.
has been able to do since 2013 when Mayweather beat him. Or some people say since the first Gennady Golovkin fight. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, when you put those names right there, Gennady Golovkin, Floyd Mayweather, that's greatness. So to
Yeah.
be mentioned with those names, there has to be a shine of greatness in there. So I think Bivol definitely comes up in the pound for pound rankings. I think he should be listed on there. Um, I think Canelo, there's wiggle room. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if somebody was to say, oh, well, Canelo's number two, I wouldn't be mad about it. If somebody was to say Canelo's number one, we could have the discussion. You know?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. There's
I.
wiggle room.
Yeah. There is wiggle room. It all depends on what's gonna happen this next few months with the other fighters,
Yep.
Crawford and Usyk.
Yeah, it's like I said. If Crawford
And
fights next and he wins,
yeah.
he's number one. If Usyk fights Joshua again and he wins, definitely he's number one. You know, Canelo's not gonna fight sooner than them, so that's why I'm saying I think they move up above him because they're both gonna fight before he does again. Well, it'd be interesting to see what Canelo does again. I don't think he should rematch Bivol. I think he would lose
That's what I
again.
was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. Do you think he takes the rematch clause? Because there's a rematch clause.
There, well,
I
in the
don't think. I
ring,
don't think he does.
in
I
the
don't think he
ring, he
does.
said yes, and in the press conference, he said, "I don't know. We're gonna see. Nothing's for sure yet." So I don't think they're going to. Dan Rafael, who used to be a writer for ESPN, I forget who he writes for now, but I follow him on Twitter. He was saying the same thing that Reynoso should be having that talk with Canelo, saying, "Hey, baby, he's all wrong for you. Don't do that." that
Yeah.
that's that was something of his tweet. I think it was like something from Rocky, but
Yeah.
I think, which is a good segue into what I wanted to ask real quick. Reynoso, 0-3 this year.
Yeah.
Julio Cesar Martinez versus Chocolatito, loss.
Mm.
Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson, loss. Canelo versus Bivol, loss.
They go trainer of the year.
It goes trainer of the year for this year, but I definitely think I don't think it's a coincidence that those three fighters lost. There's obviously a common denominator here, and it's obviously Reynoso. And I think Reynoso might have let that trainer of the year thing go. They're trying to be too unique with their game plans.
Yeah.
They're trying to think too outside of the box.
You got a big head now.
I kind of do think that because,
Yeah.
like I said, that strategy of hitting somebody in the arms is very risky. Very risky. You know, it worked once for them, and I think they were trying to say they was gonna work again. Very risky. If he was throwing those heavy shots to the body, might have been a different fight.
Yeah.
But they keep
I don't
saying,
know why he didn't work the body.
I don't know either.
It's not like he was really getting away from him. He was there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was just maintaining his distance very well, but I think the game plan definitely had something to do with it. To be honest with you, I think they
Yeah.
should have started a little bit slower. I think he should have gone to the body a little heavier. Um, Reynoso, I don't know, man. I don't know where they go from here. If they're trying to think too outside of the box with their game plans, in my opinion. They're trying too hard to figure out something unique instead of just figuring out what's gonna win the fight, in my opinion. So I definitely think they gotta go back to the drawing board. It'd be interesting to see where Canelo goes next. Does he drop back down to 168? Does he fight Benavidez? I think he should too. That's his weight class. At 175, it's too much.
It's gonna be better fights, like a lot better fights.
This just goes to show how crazy it was that he was saying he could take Usyk at 201 pounds. Because let me tell you, Usyk would have stopped him if he fought like he did yesterday.
He would have slaughtered
He's
him.
so much bigger, bigger, and I don't want to say he moves as well as Bivol and everything like that, because Bivol obviously is a little bit lighter, but pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. Yes, pretty damn close. A lot heavier too, and a lot more on those punches. So it'll be interesting to see where Canelo goes from here. Congratulations to Bivol. I think he's in the top 10 pound for pound. I think Canelo definitely drops a few spots. It's interesting. It was a good fight. Good night for boxing.
The pound for pound rankings have been shook up.
Yeah, I mean boxing has been shook up after Canelo lost now. Now everybody knows. Maybe everybody's gonna. We'll see what happens. I don't think people are gonna work. I like that he said, it happens in boxing. You win and you lose. Hopefully, people still keep fighting the best. I think that's what should happen. They're following Canelo's lead right now. I hope he can recover. We'll see what happens. Any final thoughts here, Manuel?
This weight class is for a reason.
There's weight classes for a reason. All right, guys, tune in next week. I think there's fights next week. I haven't even checked, but whenever there's another big fight, I'm pretty sure there is. There's supposed to be more fights. We'll be back, and stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Later, guys.